and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jody, and on my channel I talk about Broadway and books. And in today's video, I'll be giving a spoiler-free review on the latest book that I have read. So I'll talk a little bit on what the book is about, share my thoughts on the book, as well as my star rating. So without any further ado, let's get on to today's spoiler-free book review, and that would be for the book Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. So Practice Makes Perfect is about Annie Walker. Annie is in a place in her life where she has everything she could possibly ever want. She has a great family and a job she absolutely loves. The only thing Annie is missing is someone by her side to share it all with. So Annie is determined to finally put herself out there and start to date. And her hope is to meet her soulmate, fall in love, get married, and start a family. Dating, though, has never been Annie's strong suit. Annie is someone who is shy, has anxiety, and can be a bit awkward when trying to make small talk. So her first attempt at getting back into the dating scene takes one disastrous epic fail of a turn. And it's then when Annie realizes that finding her soulmate is going to be much harder than she originally thought. She ends up telling all of her dating woes to her pop star, soon-to-be sister-in-law, Amelia. And after Amelia listens to Annie talk about her dating troubles, she thinks, why not have Will, her super single, extremely good at dating bodyguard, help Annie out and be Annie's dating coach. Someone to help Annie get herself back out there and give her tips on how to date with success. So, at first, Annie and Will could not be more against this idea of Amelia's. The two, though, eventually come around to the idea, and so Will starts to coach Annie on the do's and don'ts of dating. After some time, though, around one another, Annie and Will start to slowly catch feelings for each other, which then only complicates things for the two, because while all Annie wants to do is find someone to fall madly in love with, get married, and start a family with, Will is in no way, shape, or form looking for any of that at all. Could Annie, though, perhaps be that person who can change Will's feelings on relationships and love? And so that's basically what Practice Makes Perfect is about. So this is the second Sarah Adams book that I've read, and I knew after I read When in Rome that the next Sarah Adams book I wanted to read was Practice Makes Perfect. Because for one, it was a book I already had, and two, Practice Makes Perfect is the second book in the When in Rome series. So in case you didn't know, When in Rome and Practice Makes Perfect are part of an interconnected standalone series, meaning you don't have to read one book to understand the other book's story. That being said, I would recommend reading the books in the order they were written, because When in Rome's story does very much continue and Practice Makes Perfect in some way. And the third book in the series, titled Beg, Borrow, or Steal, is set to come out on January 7th of next year, and the story in that book will follow Noah's sister, Emily. So, yeah. Now for my thoughts on the book. To start off with, I absolutely love this book, so much. And so now I'll talk about why I love this book so much. The first thing being, I really love the characters in this book. Because I had read When in Rome first, I was already very familiar with many of the characters in Practice Makes Perfect. While we did, get to know who Annie was a little bit in When in Rome, Will was only slightly mentioned in the book. So in Practice Makes Perfect, we got to know Annie and Will on a much deeper level than we had in the previous book in the series. And, we got to learn who Annie is besides just being Noah's sister, and who Will is besides just being Amelia's bodyguard. I really connected to Annie's character in this book as someone who is also, shy, has anxiety, and can be a bit awkward at times. Her character was one that I was just easily able to relate to. And for Will, wow, just what a great guy, so considerate, so thoughtful, so sweet. He's literally the best. And it was just so lovely also to revisit the town of Rome, Kentucky and all its small town charm. Sarah Adams just created such a wonderful, community in this town with the characters in this world. Sure, many of the characters in this book, are a bit nosy, overstep, and will ultimately make your business their business. That being said, it all just comes from a place of love. And, all the characters in this book are ones who will always be there for each other in both the good times and the bad. And the characters in this book just shine once again for being some of the most kind and caring characters that I've read about in a book that I just love so much. Another thing about the book that I really loved was the relationship between our two main love interests in the book, Annie and Will. I absolutely love their relationship in this book. Annie and Will just complemented each other just so perfectly. Their relationship was full of kindness and care, as well as just being so sweet and loving. Annie and Will completely and utterly, accepted each other for who they were, saw and understood each other in ways that others didn't, and had this undeniable connection with one another that they had never found with anyone else before. The chemistry between these two characters in this book was literally off the charts. The banter, the tension, it was just also incredibly well done and just so perfect. You could tell from the first moment that Annie will meet that there's something there between them, and that chemistry between them only intensified from one chapter to the next. While I wouldn't call this book spicy, there were definitely a lot of steamy moments throughout the story. And now for the last thing about this book that I liked. I really liked how the story delved into how our past can shape us and how sometimes it can hold us back from living. Both Annie and Will have had moments in their lives that fully kept them from living their lives without them even realizing it. And it's only once they meet each other and really get to know one another that they're finally able to see that. Annie will help one another overcome the obstacles that had held them back from really living the lives they wanted to live. And this part of the story was just so incredibly beautiful and so special because it was so lovely to see Annie and Will realize how they were capable of so much more than they gave themselves credit for, and how it's never too late to take a change of course in one's life. It was thanks to each other that they were able to see how one's past doesn't have to define them, but how it can help them become who they want to be and help them realize the lives they want to live. And, so those are my thoughts on Practice Makes Perfect. Now for my star rating. This book was more than a 5-star book for me. Not only was Practice Makes Perfect, one of my favorite books that I've read this year now. It's also just one of my favorite books now, period. To say I love this book is an understatement. It's just so incredibly good. And, while I absolutely loved When in Rome, I have to say I loved Practice Makes Perfect just a little bit more, and I cannot wait to read the third book in the series and get to jump back into the world of Rome, Kentucky once again. So now for Is This a Book I Would Recommend? I would for sure recommend this book if you like a good small town romance with that has the fake dating trope, in it as well. So that's gonna be it for today's video, is what I meant to say. If you made it to this point of the video, I just want to thank you so very much for taking the time to watch my spoiler-free review on Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I hope I helped you discover a new book today along the way as well. And until next time, bye!